Have you ever whispered a prayer to God in the dead of night and wondered if anyone was listening? Have you ever begged God for a sign, a word, or even a feeling, and been met with silence? If you have, you are not alone. Millions of seekers through the ages have carried this same yearning, not to know about God, but to know God, to talk to Him directly, to hear His response. The great spiritual master Paramahansa Yogananda, beloved teacher and author of Autobiography of a Yogi, once said, "The most important thing in life is your personal relationship with God. Not rituals, not dogmas, not debates, but your direct conversation with the divine. Imagine if that were possible. Imagine knowing that when you speak, God hears, and when you listen, He responds. What would that change in your life? Your loneliness, your fears, your questions about purpose, all could be met with the living presence of God as your friend, as your beloved, and as your guide." This is what Yogananda taught. And in this video, we will explore exactly how to do it, how to talk directly to God. We'll walk you step by step through the ancient but practical methods He revealed, methods you can begin using today. But before we dive in, here's something you must know. You do not need to be a saint, a monk, or a mystic to speak with God. You do not need to wait until you are worthy enough. You are already worthy. God is closer than the breath in your lungs, nearer than the beating of your heart. And in the next few minutes, you'll discover how to awaken that direct connection. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will not only understand how to talk to God, you'll be ready to begin tonight. And this journey could change your life. Before we learn how to talk to God, we must understand why so many of us feel that He is silent. If God is all-present, why do we feel alone? Why do our prayers sometimes seem to bounce back from the ceiling unanswered? Yogananda explained that God is like the sun, always shining. But when the window of our consciousness is covered with dust, the dust of restlessness, worries, desires, distractions, the light cannot shine through. It is not that the sun disappeared, it is that our window is not clear. Think about your own life. How often is your mind racing? Even when you sit to pray, are you fully there? Or is half your attention on yesterday's regrets, tomorrow's plans, or today's problems? This restless mind is like static on a radio. The broadcast is happening, but we can't tune in. This is why so many people give up on prayer. They think God does not listen, but Yogananda assures us, it is not God's silence, it is our noise. As he said, the soul loves to meditate, for in contact with the Spirit lies its greatest joy. But the mind resists, because it is so restless. So here's the first secret. God is always present, always listening, always responding. But to talk to Him directly, we must quiet the noise enough to hear. Imagine trying to have a heart-to-heart conversation with a loved one in the middle of a screaming crowd. You might hear fragments, but not the fullness. Step into silence, however, and suddenly every word becomes clear. The same is true with God. And here's the good news. You can clear that window. You can tune that radio. You can quiet the static of the mind, so the divine voice can be heard. That is the path Yogananda laid out, and it begins with learning the true art of prayer. For many of us, prayer has become a routine. Words recited, formulas repeated, lips moving while the heart remains unmoved. But Yogananda said true prayer is not a ritual, it is a conversation. A real, living, breathing exchange with the infinite. He taught that prayer must come from the heart, not just the head. You can use the most beautiful words, but if they lack feeling, they fall flat. On the other hand, a simple, sincere whisper, even just, "God, I love you," guide me, carries the full power of the soul. Let's pause and think about that. When you speak to a loved one, what matters more, the poetry of your words or the sincerity behind them? The same is true with God. Sincerity is the bridge. As Yogananda often said, the Lord responds to the call of the heart. So how do we make our prayers real? First, by speaking to God as personally as possible. Yogananda encouraged his students to address God in the form that most inspired love in their hearts, as Father, as Mother, as Friend, as Beloved. Don't think you must speak in grand, formal tones. Talk to Him as you would to the dearest of friends. Tell Him your struggles, your hopes, your joys, your questions. Lay your heart bare. Second, make prayer dynamic. Don't just beg. Thank Him for blessings. Love Him with tenderness. Demand His guidance with firm will. Yogananda even taught to chant prayers with deep feeling, to make the whole body vibrate with longing for God. And third, remember that prayer is not only about asking. It is about giving. Give God your love, your attention, and your devotion. The more you pour your heart upward, the more you will feel His presence pouring back into you. This is why many who practice Yogananda's way of prayer report a transformation. Prayer stops feeling like words in the air and begins to feel like a current, a living stream of energy moving between the soul and the divine. And here's the key: prayer is only half of the conversation. Talking to God is powerful, but listening to His answer is even more vital. How do we hear? That is where meditation comes in. And that's exactly what we'll explore next. Up to now, we've seen that prayer is not just about repeating words, but about sending out the vibration of the heart. But that is only half of the conversation. Think of it this way: if you're speaking to a friend, but never pause to listen, is that really a conversation? Of course not. And yet, this is how most people approach God. They talk, they plead, they recite, and then they walk away, never waiting for His reply. Yogananda said something very simple, but deeply profound. Prayer is when you talk to God. Meditation is when you listen for His answer. This changes everything, because it means the silence many people complain about is not God's absence, it is our lack of listening. But how do we listen? The answer is meditation. Yogananda was not vague about this. He called meditation a science of God communion. Just as there are physical laws in nature, there are spiritual laws that govern how to enter stillness and experience the divine directly. The first step is to still the body. If the body is restless, the mind follows. That is why Yogananda often recommended sitting upright, spine straight, calm but alert. When the body becomes steady, the energy begins to flow upward instead of outward. The second step is to calm the breath. Breath and mind are linked. A restless breath means a restless mind. Have you ever noticed how your breathing quickens when you are anxious and slows down when you are peaceful? By gently calming the breath, you begin to quiet the mind. Yogananda taught a simple technique of watching the breath or silently chanting a mantra with each inhalation and exhalation. And then comes the third step: focus. The ordinary mind is like a monkey jumping from thought to thought without rest. Meditation trains the attention to gather, to center, to rest on one thing. Yogananda often suggested concentrating at the point between the eyebrows, the spiritual eye, which he described as the doorway to higher consciousness. When body, breath, and mind are stilled, something extraordinary begins to happen. The restless waves of thought subside, and in that still lake of consciousness, the reflection of God can be seen. This is when listening truly begins. Yogananda described it in different ways. Sometimes God's answer comes as a sudden wave of peace that floods your heart. Sometimes as an intuition, a clear inner knowing that rises without effort, sometimes as guidance in daily life, the right thought at the right time, the right door opening when you need it. And for those who practice deeply, meditation reveals even higher experiences, inner light, divine sound, bliss, and a direct sense of God's presence. But Yogananda always reminded his students, do not seek experiences for their own sake. Seek only God. Speak to Him with love, then listen with patience. Whether you feel a whisper of peace or a vision of light, both are His answer. And here's the reassurance. God always replies. Always. The problem is not His silence, but our inability to hear. The static of our restless mind drowns Him out. Meditation removes that static. Think about it this way. A radio station is always broadcasting, but if your tuner is off, you hear only noise. God is broadcasting His love, His wisdom, His guidance every moment. Meditation is the fine-tuning of your soul's receiver, until suddenly the signal comes clearly. And once you taste it, you know without a doubt that He has been there all along. This is why Yogananda insisted that meditation is not optional if you truly want to talk directly to God. Prayer sends your call. Meditation receives His reply. Together, they make the full circle of divine communion. And here is the most hopeful part. You don't need to be a saint or a monk to do this. You don't need years of study. Even 5 minutes of sincere stillness, offered with love, can open a doorway to God's presence. Yogananda once told his students, if you sincerely practice even a little meditation every day, you will know that God is near, that He listens, and that He loves you. Now let's make this real. I want you to leave this video with tools you can actually use tonight to begin talking directly to God. This is a simple practice inspired by Yogananda's teachings. Step 1. Find a quiet place. Sit comfortably, spine straight. Close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Let go of tension. Step 2. Speak from your heart. Forget fancy words. Just talk. You might say, God, I don't know if you hear me, but I want to know you. I want to feel you in my life. Guide me. Speak as honestly as possible. Pour out whatever is in your heart. Step 3. Shift into gratitude. Thank Him for specific blessings in your life, your health, family, even the lessons in your struggles. Gratitude softens the heart and lifts the vibration of prayer. Step 4. Express love. Even if you don't feel it strongly, whisper, God, I love you. Teach me to love you more. Love is the magnet that draws His presence. Step 5. Listen in silence. After you've spoken, sit quietly. Watch the breath as it flows naturally. Focus gently at the point between the eyebrows. When thoughts wander, bring them back with a gentle prayer. I am listening, Lord. Step 6. Accept whatever comes. Whether you feel peace or nothing at all, accept it. Trust that God heard you. Trust that the very act of reaching out has opened a channel. Answers may come later in unexpected ways. Step 7. Repeat daily. The key is consistency. Just as a friendship deepens through regular conversation, your friendship with God will grow through daily prayer and meditation. Remember, quality matters more than quantity. Even 5 minutes of wholehearted practice can transform your inner life. And here's a bonus. Write down your prayers and any inspirations you feel after meditation. Over time, you will see patterns, guidance, and evidence that God has been answering you all along. This is not theory. Countless people have practiced this and found their lives transformed. Yogananda's own students testified again and again that when they prayed and meditated in this way, they began to feel God as a living reality, a presence that guided, comforted, and uplifted them every day. And now, it is your turn. Begin tonight. Start the conversation. God is waiting. So now you know, speaking directly to God is not a mystery. It is not reserved for saints or priests. It is the birthright of every soul, including you. But I know what you might be thinking. What if I try, and I don't feel anything? What if I sit in silence and it feels empty? Let me reassure you, this is normal. Do not let it discourage you. Imagine a child learning to walk. The first steps are wobbly. The child may fall. But does the mother stop loving the child because of it? No. She encourages. She smiles. She lifts the child up again. God is the same. He is patient. He is waiting. He delights in every effort you make to come closer. Even if your prayers feel awkward, even if your silence feels restless, your effort itself is precious to Him. Yogananda said, "Every sincere effort to contact God is reciprocated. No call goes unanswered. His silence is not rejection, it is preparation." Sometimes, God's replies don't come in the moment of prayer itself. They may arrive hours later, in the form of sudden peace during your day, or in the kind word of a friend, which comes just when you need it, or in a dream that brings clarity. Learn to see these as answers. Because once you open the channel of conversation, the divine will use every means available to reach you. And the more you continue, the more direct the connection becomes. The peace deepens and expands. Until one day, you will sit in silence and feel Him as tangibly as the beating of your own heart. This is why Yogananda often referred to God as the divine friend. Not a distant ruler, not an abstract force, but a friend who is closer than the closest, more loving than the most loving. Think of the comfort in that. Life may bring disappointments. People may misunderstand you. Even your loved ones may fail you at times. But God never leaves. He is the one friend who walks with you through every shadow and every joy. When you talk to Him daily, you will never feel alone again. And maybe this is the most important message for you right now. Don't wait. Don't say, "Someday I'll get serious about prayer and meditation." Life is uncertain. Each day is a gift. If you are hearing this message today, it is not by accident. Yogananda believed strongly that when the soul is ready, the teachings arrive. This video, these words, may be part of God's way of reminding you, "I am waiting. Talk to me. I am listening." So start tonight. Take even 5 minutes before bed. Pour out your heart. Sit in silence. And let this be the beginning of a lifelong relationship. Now, here's the exciting part. In this video, we explored how to talk directly to God. But talking to God is only one side of the relationship. The next step is learning how to feel God's presence all the time, not just when you pray or meditate, but as a living reality in every moment of your life. That's what we'll be exploring in the next video. And I promise you, it will open your heart in ways you never imagined. Let me leave you with Yogananda's own words, a promise for your journey. God is nearer than the nearest, dearer than the dearest, closer than the closest. Call to Him, and He will answer. Persist, and He will come to you. So take courage. Start today. And remember, you are not alone. The friend of your soul has been waiting all along. If this message touched your heart, I invite you to continue this journey with me. Subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next steps we'll be exploring together, the practical ways to deepen your connection with God and awaken your soul.